Once a year, I rank the programs in the SEC. Now, here's what a program is. Let me peel my Post-it off of the piece of paper. I wrote down how we define program. I'm going to say this as clearly and effectively as I can. It will be ignored. Watch and see what I tell you in the comments. A program, not to be confused with team. A program is, as we define it, a rolling 4-year blend of talent acquisition, mainly recruiting focused, but also a little bit of portal mixed in there. So how good are you acquiring talent over a 4-year period? How good are your on-field results? Are you winning enough over a 4-year period? So if you're winning 3 games per year, but you won 12 last year, that means you had a good team. That doesn't automatically mean your program's great yet. Your resource pool, are you broke or do you got some money? How are your facilities? How deep's your staff pool? You know, those sorts of things. And organizational stability. Are things pretty consistent year to year? Is there a lot of turmoil? Is there a lot of staff churn? Or are you pretty much steady as you go? So with those bits of criteria in mind, Georgia is still the #1 program in the SEC. They just won the league. There's nothing controversial about this. So Georgia's the #1 program in the SEC still. This is the only team in college football with over a 90% winning percentage last 4 years, which I didn't know, but then when I look at it, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, who's been better than them? They got 2 SEC titles, 2 national titles over that rolling 4-year period. Their rolling recruiting average over that 4-year period is second in the country. They're averaging the #2 class, and it's an extremely solid organization top to bottom. Like, slam dunk, this is still the #1 program in the SEC. Now, the #2 program in the SEC, I'm going to let you decide in your head before I tell you who I have. And time. Texas is now the #2 program in the SEC to me. I got Texas #2. Now, there's a 5-7 season baked in there. In the last 4 years, Texas has had a 5-7 season. So it should tell you a lot what I think about the program overall. When with that baked in, I still have them #2 because it's the best talent acquisition program in the league right now. Better than Georgia. I think they're more effective at getting talent than Georgia right now. They've got the deepest resource pool, deeper than Georgia. Georgia's been better on the field. And Georgia's not taking much of a backseat in those other categories, but Texas, that vaults them this high. It vaults them over Alabama because there are a lot of other areas where Alabama's got the edge in the critical categories that we talked about, but they've had back-to-back playoff trips at Texas. Like I said, they've got an unmatched resource pool, maximum commitment, maximum investment. I think extremely highly of Steve Sarkisian. I think extremely highly of their roster. It's about to get tested again. The depth is about to get tested again. But I love where they're at right now. I think right now in this moment, it's the #2 program in the SEC. Bama's the #3 program in the SEC. Now, here's the thing about Bama. If Saban were still there, even if they would have had the same record last year, we'd have Bama #2 because you would have had one outlier of a season baked into otherwise a bunch of dominance. The Saban factor is almost like this asterisk that's thrown into the mix, and if it's comparable, Texas or Alabama, I gave Texas the nod. Alabama has a better 4-year rolling profile. They've got the #2 win percentage in the SEC over that 4-year period. Their organizational strength is really good and probably just improved a little bit more. It's just that when you lost the greatest of all time, even if you added someone I believe in Kalen DeBoer, this is not a prediction. This is judging you in the here and now. So it's one thing to believe in Kalen DeBoer. And if we did a predictive segment, maybe I'd bump them up #2, #1, whatever. But there's what you believe will happen versus judging the here and now. And in their first go-around with him, they lost a couple of games in embarrassing fashion. So this is not a team ranking, it's program ranking, but that has to be baked in. And because it's a new head coach replacing a guy who was just there 15 years, it matters a little bit more what you just did in the previous season. So it's not like they tumbled. They're #3 and could easily vault to #2 or #1 with a great year this upcoming year, depending on what Georgia and Texas do, of course. I have got Tennessee at #4. I have a feeling this is where we're really going to start to have some disagreement. The on-field results are there. So they've won 7 games, 11 games, 9 games, 10 games. That's their rolling 4-year win-loss record. Well, win total. Recruiting's where they fall off a little bit. recruiting's where there's a little bit of a dip comparing Tennessee to the other top 3 programs here. They're averaging a 15th ranked class in the country over the past 4 years rolling. That is 9th overall in the SEC. It's not terrible, but it's not elite. It is 2nd or 3rd tier. They've been okay in the portal. They've got really good commitment there, the NIL commitments there. Organizationally, I think they're good. Very, very solid outfit there in Knoxville, but the most important thing there is they've just got stability. If you gave me nothing more than stability at Tennessee, they would have been a lot better off in recent years, even if they were average at head coach. Just be stable and be average. So I'm going to put Tennessee number 4. There may be some people, I think 4, 5, and 6, there are going to be some people that argue that these should be interchangeable. So I think Tennessee, LSU, and Ole Miss, people are going to argue should be anywhere from 4 to 6. I could make those arguments, but this is where I landed. I put LSU at number 5, right behind Tennessee and right ahead of Ole Miss, where I'll show you where they are in a second. LSU's got 29 wins over the last 3 years. Their recruiting profile, they're averaging an 8.75 rated class. That's good for 4th in the SEC. They are very good but improving in their ability to go fill their holes through the portal. And I think that a lot of that got kicked into overdrive just recently. Just recently, I think that there was a long, hard look in the mirror down there, and there was sort of a come-to-Jesus moment for a lot of people who were capable of helping, and they helped, and knowing you're not going to have to do it forever. We're about to be revenue sharing. So if you're going to write that check, now's the time to write the check, and they did. And LSU may have bought themselves 2 more wins this upcoming year by the moves they just made in the portal. But even talking about their program overall, the defensive overhaul is baked in here. That's what knocks LSU down a little bit. Like LSU got themselves into such a precarious situation that they had a Heisman Trophy winner and didn't even sniff a playoff or a national championship game because they were terrible defensively. Now, that's to the fault of Brian Kelly. To his credit, he cleaned house. To their credit, let me put it that way. To LSU's credit, organizationally, they cleaned house. They got the right guys in there. And so they'll be good. They'll be fine moving forward. Got to have the players, which they're rapidly on pace to do. But it's LSU. I mean, think about it. Think about the stigma around them. They feel like they're down. They've won 29 games the last 3 years. If that's down by LSU standards alone. That's not down by any stretch in just the overall landscape of college football. So I got LSU 5. Okay, 6 through 10. Let me show you how I shook these out. I got Ole Miss at number 6. You could easily have them at 5. You could have them as high as 4. They got the 3rd best winning percentage in the conference over the past 4 years. They are a portal-heavy talent acquisition team. So they are not a high-level recruiting team. They're kind of middle of the pack there. They're a high-level portal team. The way I personally look at it is sustainability using that model, even though it's new and no one really knows, I don't put as much faith in as just good old-fashioned top 10 recruiting classes. So maybe I'm wrong on that, but this is where I define their program as being right now. 7 is Texas A&M. Everything for A&M's in front of them. What's in your rearview mirror is average at best. That's why you would be middle of the pack here among the high-level programs. But Texas A&M, it was mainly Jimbo Fisher that's baked into this. You've only had 1 year of Mike Elko, several years to come. 7's not a bad spot for them to be. Missouri at number 8 is all about on-field winning. They've recruited sneakily pretty well. They're a number 20 caliber recruiter. They've been very cerebral and effective in the way they go about the portal, but they've won 21 games the last 2 years, too. So Eli Drinkwitz is doing a really, really good job at Missouri, which I don't have to tell people who watch the SEC, but nationally that kind of gets lost on people. South Carolina has made their way into the top 10. 3 winning records in a row. Now, that doesn't sound impressive, but remember, we're not talking about top 3 here. They're number 9. And you've also, sort of in a more backloaded fashion, you've had them play their best ball most recently, so the recency bias factor would not have anyone argue with this. I think now they're about like Missouri in that they recruit around 20th or so nationally. And Florida, big recruiting surge here. I mean, recruiting, they are around number 8 nationally. On average, the past 4 years. Their records haven't reflected that. And that's why they're at number 10. Organizationally, I think they've got a good setup down there. So I respect that. I respect their talent acquisition. Their wins and losses are not there. That knocks them down a peg or two. Resource pool, I think, has improved the past 2 or 3 years really, really well. So that's on the up and up. That's what has them number 10. Florida, I don't know. I would probably straw poll most of America. I think they may put someone else in the top 10 besides Florida. But Florida's up there for me. So it was Georgia, Texas, Bama, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, A&M, Missouri, South Carolina, Florida. That's our top 10 right now.